Before I start this video, I first want to apologize for two things. One, I apologize for the brief hiatus. Since I recently went on vacation, I'm also a busy man outside of YouTube with everything going on in my life. Two, I apologize for seeing this film. Since my $5.57 I spent on it will be given to the evil empire and encourage them to remake their classic animated features in the live action and butcher them in the process. If you guys hate the upcoming remakes of Disney movies you grew up loving and are getting more despite your negative reactions, it's mine and also millions of other people's faults across the world. Now, let's get on to why The Lion King 2019 is such a terrible movie. The Lion King's biggest problem is also the best thing it has going for it, and that's the photorealistic animation. On one hand, it looks very impressive, and there was clearly a ton of work and effort put into making this movie look as realistic as possible. But on the other hand, it takes away all the emotion and visual flair that the original film had, and instead feels like a BBC nature documentary series narrated by David Attenborough. Even then, those shows still have more emotion and life than this movie does. The film is so hyper-realistic, but it doesn't work since I never felt emotionally invested or cared about what was going on. The photorealistic visuals limit the range of emotions of the characters, so when something sad or grand happens, it feels so dull and lifeless. It has none of the impact that the same scenes in the original had. Remember when Scar kills his brother Mufasa in the original and that look of horror in his eyes when he realizes what his brother's going to do to him? Remember Simba's reaction to seeing his father fall to his death? It works because of the incredible hand-drawn animation that allowed a wide range of emotions to be captured, which this film doesn't have. Here, there's no emotion with these characters, and I honestly laughed here in that scene because of how poorly done it was. Yes, I laughed here in the saddest scene in the movie because of how emotionally hollow this film was compared to the original. The musical numbers from the original also feel incredibly lifeless, and all the personality from them is stripped away. I Just Can't Wait to Be King has all the flashy and vibrant colors taken away, and instead Simba and Nala just run around a bunch of animals while singing it. Hakuna Matata feels so empty. Even a musician as talented as Donald Glover singing it, Can You Feel the Love Tonight has none of the class and beauty of the original version, plus it takes place during the day instead of night, and Be Prepared gets the worst redo of the songs from the original. Remember the sinister and evil vibe the original gave off with the green and purple smoke, and also that deep and commanding voice of Jeremy Irons and Jim Cummings singing it? Gone! Here is Chiwetel Ejiofor speaking and yelling it while climbing rocks, and it also looks incredibly ugly and murky. Thanks, Disney. I really appreciate you butchering my favorite song from the original film. The voice acting in The Lion King is unsurprisingly mediocre. The reason why I'm not surprised it turned out to be the way it did is since the characters have such a limited range of emotions, there's not much for the actors to work with and are using their voices to the best of their ability to convey the emotions of the characters. Donald Glover completely phones it in as Simba, and sounds like he didn't really care to be there, which is sad considering I really like Donald Glover as a musician and actor. Beyonce is severely miscast as Nala, and is really given nothing to do besides sing a few songs and have some really terrible line delivery. Chiwetel Ejiofor is painfully bland as Scar, but I blame the screenplay for this film for taking away all the coolness and calmly threatening demeanor he had in the original film. Billy Eichner and Seth Rogen are fine as Timon and Pumbaa, even though Rogen is absolutely painful to listen to when he's singing. James Earl Jones also sounds incredibly disinterested to be in this film, and doesn't have the rich and deep voice he had in the original, even though age probably had a factor in that. The Lion King also suffers from another big thing, in that it is basically a shot-for-shot remake of the original and has nothing new that adds to the 1994 film. Remember when Gus Van Sant remade Psycho in 1998? It was basically a shot-for-shot remake of the original film by Alfred Hitchcock, but with none of the masterful direction, incredible building of tension and suspense, and great performances that made it a classic. This movie is basically the same. Sure, it has the same musical numbers as the original, Hans Zimmer's Oscar-winning musical score, the same story, a lot of the same jokes and the same characters, but without the personality and life of the original, in some cases does them worse. Jon Favreau's direction is so cookie-cutter and average, which shocked me considering I like him a lot as a director. He really could have done something with this film to make it fit his style and differentiate it from the original film, but he doesn't. People have been enjoying this film since it's basically the same film as the 1994 version, but with a new visual style, but people have also been hating it for offering nothing new to the original, in which people would complain that it's not the original if they changed it. What's the point of this movie if it does nothing to add to the original film? Actually, the original is a masterpiece that's absolutely fine the way it is, so there's no reason for this one to exist. In closing, The Lion King 2019 is a soulless, bland, and boring remake of the original film, and is so far the worst of the Disney remakes that have been made. It takes everything that worked in the original film and spits in its face. But then again, I'm not surprised this happened. I knew going in that this was going to be a rehash of one of my favorite movies, but I still paid money to see it when I could have just watched the original again. This is the definition of a cash grab, and I fell for it. Instead of talking about this movie some more, I'm just going to let a scene from the original film describe my thoughts and feelings on this movie.
Scar! Brother, help me!
Long live the king.